Good girl. Who's George? Is this not working?
Hello, everybody. Looks like we're getting closer to having everybody all here. So I think Chair Nixon should be joining us here shortly.
Darren, can you hear me?
Looks like we're right on time for ACE to start. ACE Chair Nixon is not on this call. He may be having some technical difficulties. In that event, normally the vice chair would step in. I can't speak for Mr. Nixon. He may join us here shortly. Vice Chair Dunlop, if you wish to start this meeting and commence, we'd be happy to help.
Okay. Let the record reflect that we're starting this meeting of the ACE on Wednesday, August the 12th, 2020. Shelley, can you do a roll call?
Sure can. Andrea Mannion,
Here.
Amy Gallegos,
Here.
Dylan Rye,
Present.
right. Brad Nixon, Travis Ridley,
Here.
Judith Dunlop,
Here.
Jason White, Nathan Hoag, Steve Paul,
Here,
Dave-
just in case you didn't hear that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I was on mute.
David Carroll, Rita Russell,
Here.
and Darren. We have a quorum.
Okay, great. I probably don't have oh, okay. The July 8th, we want to be able to approve the minutes of July 8th, 2020. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And second?
Second. I wasn't there, but I'll second it.
Can we, I think Travis has to abstain, correct?
He does.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess we can just jump in. Our first speaker is Ann Loricello from the Communications Department.
You nailed that last name. That was really impressive. Nobody ever gets that. Thank you.
Well, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, there you go. You're familiar. Well, first, thank you all for letting me be here. I'm communications specialist with the communications department, obviously. I'm fairly new to the department. I don't know if I still get to say that after 6 months, but yeah, 6 months here. And obviously a lot of this has come up just since March. So it's been a whirlwind. And I'm going to pull up some notes because I want to tell you guys about everything that we've been doing. And it's been quite a bit. So, okay, the first thing I want to start off with, probably a lot of people have seen this. It's the We've Got This campaign. If you're not familiar with it, at least you've seen it on the banner over Broadway because it's definitely there. It's definitely eye-catching. But it's sort of an umbrella kind of initiative, for lack of a better word, that we are using to promote these programs that we have in place to help businesses. So with We've Got This, it was developed to assist businesses and residents recover from COVID-19. It's been a big thing. The approach has multiple layers to assist small businesses throughout the city in successfully reopening under changing guidelines. We know these iterate week to week, month to month. So We've Got This also focuses on growing neighborhood connections by hosting socially distanced special events. Madeline Hinkley is our new neighborhood resources coordinator. She's been doing a lot from the very beginning in order to connect people socially, even if they can't be there physically. So she's been doing neighborhood happy hours, things like that, but again, doing it responsibly. So hopefully when this all lifts, again, when it lifts, you'll be seeing a lot more from her because she's been pretty great about it. So then we have this thing, it's called the Storytelling Video Series, and it focuses on small business with short, they're just 30 seconds to 1 minute spots. They're shared across our city platforms, our social media, and they highlight owners and how they've had to pivot, make it through these times. One of the ones we did was Cochino Tacos, and they spoke about how they've readjusted their happy hour hours and been able to do takeout drinks. And they did that not only for revenue, but also as a way to say thank you, because I think in Englewood, we've been really blessed to have the kind of community that we do. It's very supportive. We are very hyper local. And so we have a lot of those stories to tell. Again, we have the signage throughout the city and the banner for Broadway, as I mentioned, we're very proud of that. We've got these themed promotional items that you might have seen. And the city really has taken it into our hands to promote these initiatives that have been put into place. A good example of that being the temporary expansion of outdoor seating for food consumption. Those are the things that we get a lot of great feedback from residents on our social channels just saying, thank you for doing this. And especially we've been so far ahead of the curve. We've been ahead of other cities doing those kinds of things. So we're really proud of that. And we'll go on to marketing and reopening grant. As I'm sure everybody here knows, we had a $500 marketing and reopening grant. It was available to non-home-based City of Englewood businesses that were closed and either have or are planning to reopen. So specific types of businesses were storefront retail, restaurants, personal care, childcare. There was a whole laundry list. So it wasn't a very specific niche. It was an umbrella. We really tried to negotiate the guidelines as best we could to make that happen. And we are strongly encouraging, though we've got this branding in signage and marketing campaigns for cities, these funds can be used for marketing business reopening, PPE. That's a huge cost that people don't think about it, but businesses need that. Cleaning supplies, again, a really big financial burden if you don't have that huge cushion. And there are currently grant funds remaining, and the city has promoted those grants. Again, through our website, our social media channels, those are our best ways to reach our residents. They are also our most immediate ways, if that makes sense. And the city is posting grant testimonials every week until those remaining grant funds are depleted. And someone here can speak much better about the amount of money left. I went into a journalism degree for a reason, because I don't want to deal with numbers. But that's another amazing thing that the city has been doing. Staycations, these are really fun. So this program was created to encourage residents to stay in Englewood and visit local businesses during this time when a lot of us are understandably really reluctant to travel, and why not keep those dollars local anyway? So we have a bunch of staycation itineraries that we've put together, and those are being posted. Again, I know I'm saying it over and over again, but social media platforms. We have gotten, our social media administrator now is fantastic. She came in the same time that I did, and she has expanded our reach exponentially. It's wonderful to see the kind of work that she's been doing, and the departments have really worked together to promote everything that we've been doing in a way that it wouldn't have gotten to residents beforehand. So very happy with that. And each post has 3 local businesses, events, or venues, as well as accompanying photos. So to give you an idea, one time we did yoga, we did coffee at Nixon's, and a park. So it was things that are really very Englewood and only can be found in Englewood. And again, promoting as well the city resources that we have. We need to make people aware that yes, there are guidelines, but we are reopening as many city amenities as we can in a safe and timely way, because we know those are things people have missed. People have missed parks. So we're definitely trying to bring that back into the fold. And the city is sharing those staycation itineraries every Tuesday and Friday, just to get residents out there, to get them buying again, visiting our parks again, things like that. And we have this, it's our COVID-19 Citizen Special Edition. Hopefully everybody has gotten one of these. This was something that the city did along with our fantastic magazine production company. We are calling it a bridge, because it is. It's the bridge between our spring and our fall edition. And the fact that we got this out as quickly as we did with important information, I'm really proud of this. I'm just proud to be on this team. So it highlighted local businesses and their efforts to adjust as this continues to just iterate. It's flowing. I mean, it's week to week, it's month to month, it's day to day, sometimes. So that was what we did. We tried to get that, and again, highlight the businesses and what they're doing and how to make their customers feel safe again and give them the best options, whether that is still takeout, whether that is dining 6 feet, 10 feet apart, whatever it may be. We really wanted to give them a way to promote what they're doing throughout this time. And this was just another avenue to reach all our residents. And we, as I said, this went out fast. We did it as quality and as quickly as we could, because we will have the fall edition coming up, next month, I think. So we'll continue to capitalize on the loosening of restrictions, or however they may be. That's a fluid situation, and we're going to continue that. And these go to all the doorsteps. So this was just another avenue to reach people. Those are the big initiatives that communications have been doing, and we've been trying to work as much as possible with other departments and particularly with community development to enable us to reach the local businesses, because that's what is our city, really. We rely on them and they rely on us. So if you haven't been, and I'm sure everybody here has, so I'm sorry if I'm sort of preaching to the choir, but go find City of Englewood. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Nextdoor, we have LinkedIn. We have a lot of ways to reach you all, a lot of channels. And I know people say that we're in this together, and sometimes it's hard to believe, but we really are. And we're here for you, and we want to hear your feedback. That's the other thing. I mean, communications, we need to hear from you. We want to hear from you, whether it's criticism, feedback, or if you just want to bounce ideas off of us. That's what we're here for. So hopefully you've seen some of these things and they've made sense to you, or you've seen the quality or the intent in them, because that really is where we're going forward from here. We hope that this is just tip of the iceberg and that we'll be able to overcome anything that continues to come our way. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Did anyone have any questions? Comments? I just wanted to say I read the magazine thoroughly through today, and you really did a great job on it. It really did highlight. It was very personal, and in some of the businesses, One Barrel in particular, have had growth and what was that like for that business owner, and they were kind of featured in there, and it really was great. So it did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that truly is sort of it takes a lot of heads to put that one together, a lot of departments, but thank you. I appreciate that. That's nice to hear.
Is Brad on the line here? No? Darren, do you know?
Who is on the cell phone? It looks like it's a cell phone. Ends in 3642. Who would that be, please?
That's me. Nathan Hoag's on the line. That's me on the phone.
Hi, Nathan. Thanks for chiming in.
Hi. Absolutely.
Okay.
To
Yeah,
pair off,
yeah.
if I could, of Anne's comments, I am so very proud of communications and the great work that they're doing. During COVID especially, that's when it was an all hands on deck event for the city, and communications was front and center with that, leading the way really with these videos to help businesses and residents stay informed about all the things that are going on. The social media aspects were just firing on all cylinders during that time. And this magazine is fantastic. If you don't have a copy, please take, I think it's on our website, Ann, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Really am so impressed with the content. The grants that we've put out, we couldn't have gotten the word out about these grants, and we've put almost $650,000 to work back in the businesses' hands through these grants. Communications got the word out about it. Without that line of communications to our community, we would not have had the reach in getting businesses informed about this. I think there's a call to action here for ACE. If ACE members have any feedback on businesses that we can provide and shine the light on, we're always looking for businesses that are really worthwhile in terms of showcasing. I know the Chamber of Commerce has helped us with some of these webinars. One we did with Swedish Medical Center was fantastic. But if there are any businesses that we should think about for the staycation or for even the storytelling videos that you think they would represent the city well, please let us know. We want to make sure that those businesses are reflected in upcoming stories that we have.
And Darren's been absolutely critical in those. So Darren, I appreciate your praise, but I have to send it back your way too. I appreciate it. And if anybody, again, as he said, I'm just going to echo that. If you have ideas for us, you can either reach out to the communications department, go through our social media channels, or just reach out to anybody in the city and they'll direct it our way and we'll be able to get it done.
Anne, who is the social media director?
Her name is Lucia Magnuson, and I can get you that information if you'd like. I know that's another heck of a name.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other comments or anything? We know that you have a call coming up.
I do at 4. So you have me for 13 more minutes if anybody needs anything.
This is Steve. And Anne, I was really impressed with the magazine when it came out. Frankly, I was really surprised at how well done it was and how it had come out so quickly. And I'm curious if you have gotten, I know this is really soon in the game, but do you have any examples already of people that have come forward to organize a neighborhood or have happy hours and that kind of thing? Can you fill?
Yeah, absolutely. So the neighborhood resources position is extremely new. And I mean, I think she started just before COVID hit, but she's her own department. She's really incredible. Has been doing things like happy hour gift bags and signage, but it's also incredibly crucial, and the city is very aware of it, that we are able to bring neighbors together, but at the same time follow and enforce those safety guidelines. And so we have, and I can forward anybody who wants to see these pictures, but it's a neighborhood and everybody's spaced out, but they all have, their own drinks. They're doing their own happy hour. And that's another thing. Some of these people have never met their neighbors before. So that's been a really, really fun thing to see. And when this first started and we were all sort of, on lockdown, she also created community sharing circles, which were digital. They were online. It's kind of like this, and they were moderated and had some sort of a prompt, like what has been the most difficult thing for you, what has been the best thing. And so that was really fantastic in reaching people who may not have had another lifeline, if you will, to any sort of, phone calls, things like that. A lot of people were just absolutely thirsty for that. And so to meet people digitally even was a really good thing to see, especially mentally. I mean, we were all kind of in that place where we were lacking for other social interaction.
Thank you.
I did have one question that was in the magazine. It was on Englewood's growing public patio scene. And it mentioned something, and maybe Darren knows. It said, challenges stemming from loss of revenue through grant process, but where business owners could weigh in on plans for reopening. So were those some meetings that you handled, Darren?
Indirectly through the community development office. One of the things we worked really hard to do was streamline that process. The city was under an emergency order, and the city manager directed staff to allow for the use of the public way, including alleys, for example, or temporary street closures, or waiving any fees and waiving any requirements for parking. So if a business wanted to take up required parking, for example, and corral that area off for outside seating, they certainly could do that. The breakfast on
Breakfast on Broadway?
Not breakfast on Broadway. Breakfast on Broadway did expand. Actually, they did expand into the seating in their required seating in there. So they could not have done that without this order. And again, the streamlined process allowed for a very quick permit, and the intent was to get it turned around in 24 hours. And we did that in many, many cases. Englewood Grand made use of the alley, and they're still making use of the alley. So social distancing has impacts, and this is meant to help businesses overcome some of those impacts.
So the fast track something of the future here? We can get things done a whole lot quicker for business owners?
One of the things we're talking about among ourselves and colleagues around the city that do economic development are what are some of the trends that we're going to see going forward with businesses. I think some of the trends that we're going to see going forward with local government is hopefully continue some of this fast tracking of permits.
Darren, this is Travis.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on that. My husband and I drove by the Breakfast on Broadway this morning, and we were thrilled to see that expanded out into their parking lot. Are you in the future going to look to work with businesses on that if they continue to have some sort of hybrid spacing Is that just, you have to renew then, or what's the thought on that?
I think a lot will depend on what the future public health orders hold in
Okay,
terms of any required spacing, et cetera. As long as those public health orders hold in place, that there has to be that level of spacing, et cetera. I think
okay,
that we can continue to see the use of these patios. I wish I had numbers to give you about the number of patio spaces that are out there, but we processed a large number of these in a big hurry.
yeah,
And again, coming back to communications, coming full circle back to communications, businesses would not have been aware of this if we didn't have a strong communications arm with the city. So again, many hat tips to the team, that Ann and her team.
okay.
Great. Anything else for Ann? Okay, well, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thanks for coming to our meeting today and giving us an update.
Yeah, you as well. And thank you for bearing with as I read my notes. And I have to jump off on another call, but hopefully I'll attend a complete meeting next time. So thank you all very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
I guess next up is some information on the virtual job fair. Darren, do you want to perhaps handle that?
Happy to. So a couple of things. The city has in the past hosted job fairs with some modest levels of success. We've worked with in the past with our economic partners to put on these job fairs. And in spite of the tough economic conditions out there, businesses are needing employees as we're ramping up. And employees are seeking good jobs now. So we're working with the Chamber of Commerce as well as Arapahoe Douglas Works to do a virtual job fair, which will take place on September 1st. We have space for about 20 employers to be a part of that discussion. Dylan, I hope you raise your hand as far as Swedish wanting to participate, or any business for that matter in the city. We have 20 rooms we can have. It's professionally done with Arapahoe Douglas Works. We'll have a Zoom type format, and job seekers can go into and out of the various rooms if they want to explore Swedish Medical, or also, Amy, if they wanted to explore iLogic, if you had any positions available at iLogic. So right now we have 5 businesses that are signed up. Again, we have room for 20. So we're hoping over the next 7 to 10 days, we solidify our final participants in the job fair. David Carroll with the Chamber is doing a very good job of reaching out to businesses for their participation. And again, AD Works, Arapahoe Douglas Works, that's our local workforce center. They will be coordinating this, and they have a pool of job seekers within their database of folks that have indicated they're looking for work, and we'll also promote this out to Englewood citizens. So we do hope any Englewood business, I just met with an Englewood business, they said they have a receptionist. They need a receptionist and an office assistant. They've only got one job, and they thought, I can't jump into this for just one job. I said, every job counts, please sign up. So if you have any positions, 1 or 100 positions, feel free to sign up for the job fair. And Dylan, if you want to forward this to anybody on your team, please do. We do hope to get some medical, and anybody for that matter, please forward this to your constituents so that businesses are more aware that the city and the Chamber and AD Works are hosting this job fair.
Darren, this is Dylan. I appreciate you sharing that with me the other day. I went ahead and forwarded that on to our Vice President of HR. So we've got, I think, a little under 100 positions that are going to be coming open in one capacity or another that we're going to be hiring into. So we'd love to be there. I'll email you off out of this meeting just to coordinate that, but we have a recruitment arm that should be able to come and attend that and get some hiring done.
Dylan, you made my day. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Steve, it looks like you're raising your hand, sir.
Silly question, but is this only open to businesses within the boundaries of Englewood?
You know, we're trying to focus on the city of Englewood. If there's a business outside on our outskirts that could end up hiring some Englewood residents, and there's a compelling case for that business, we'd be happy to invite them into the participant. So no, it's not exclusive to Englewood businesses only. but that's my focus. Those are the businesses that I'm calling and I'm reaching out to.
Okay, great. Good to know. Thank you.
Please participate. Please share the invitation. We're trying to get our list of businesses strong, and then also to promote this out to job seekers, so folks that are looking for jobs. So please share those when you see those if you're out on our social media. That's the only update I have as far as this agenda item for ACE. We've done these in the past and they've been successful. This is our first attempt to do anything in a virtual type of format. So we're learning as we go here, just like these meetings.
So Darren, you contacted some businesses to get involved, some that you may have thought would be good participants.
Correct. The chamber has done a number. We've contacted, direct contacted a number of businesses, manufacturing. There's a small nonprofit that's looking to hire some folks. Obviously, having the medical industry, medical Swedish HCA, and others would be key. But we only have room for 20. But believe it or not, even though it's a free event, I want to get as many of the 20 filled as we can. I don't want to show up with 5 or 6. So we've got some good candidates. The City of Englewood HR department will also participate, and the city has some positions available. So I'm glad to see that HR from the city will also participate in this. We'll reach out to the school district to see if they have any positions with the schools. But if we get to a position where we have to cut, I hope we have a lot of folks. But we can host. We have a couple of extra licenses to get up to 25 people. So I don't think we'll get more than 25. But our goal is 15 to 20 solid Englewood businesses that are looking to hire.
And so if someone wanted to register for this, they would plug in virtual job fair. They just go to City of Englewood.
So if a business wants to register to sign up, we did a blast email to a number of folks, and I blasted an email to ACE. Feel free to share that. All it is a form. It's a Google Docs form. And in the body of that email, it's register here. And you click on that and you fill out the form. And so it would be for company name, contact, and usually it asks a couple of questions about the types of positions that you're hiring for. And if you're in the case of HCA, they may be hiring 100 nurses or 100 medical staff. And that's something that we then turn into a promotional piece to market to the job seekers, so that the job seekers know the types of employers that'll be in that meeting that day.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Okay, we've got ACE brainstorm ways to conduct business visits, outreach, and COVID environment.
That's a heavy topic.
Yeah. I think we've got some time.
I thought we'd brainstorm this as a group, and I checked with Brad Nixon before we put this topic on the agenda. ACE has done an excellent job of getting out in the field in the last several years of meeting face-to-face with folks. And that's really key, is meeting folks and interacting with folks. But in this era of COVID, I'm discovering how to do my job differently too, in a high contact, because economic development's a high contact type of job. And I thought it would be worthwhile just more not to direct anything, but to see what ACE thought about going forward, how the group wants to interact within the business community during this time, how ACE can interact, how ACE can have some level of communication interaction out there, and just open the floor for this discussion. That's really all I had with the intent of putting this suggestion forward for an ACE agenda topic. Any thoughts, feedback, what might work, what might not work? Obviously, getting in front of folks, business owners are wanting to meet virtually. We did have a meeting with a group of folks the other day, and we were all spread out through I had to book a very large conference room for 4 people to come in. Anything that we can do virtually, we're doing virtually. But I still need to get in front of businesses. So I was in a business this morning, actually two, this morning face-to-face with some business owners asking for some assistance with a couple of our programs. So any thoughts about how ACE can interact on the public side of the equation in this environment?
I had one question with regard to businesses. Are you being informed, or are you being contacted of businesses that are no longer operating, or are on some type, you wouldn't call it a hiatus, but reevaluating their own business operation?
To the extent that they reach out to the city, yes. And those are really rough cases. Well, I'm only aware of if they initiate that interaction, or we happen to hear about a situation and then initiate that back towards the business. We don't often hear about a business that's closing due to COVID. So have been a couple of businesses that I'm aware of that are closed due to COVID. We did report out to City Council a list of business closures since April 1st. We can't say that they were all directly related to COVID, but those noted business closures that were, and I want to say there were 44, 45 businesses on that list.
Wow.
And again, they cannot be necessarily all attributed to COVID, because there's some natural attrition in businesses. But we provided that information to City Council. There were no restaurants that were listed on that list, which I think is kind of interesting. They're one of the forward-facing businesses or categories in our community of businesses. We've all been impacted, but restaurants in particular, with customers and patrons, we're not aware of any restaurants that have closed due to COVID. Some chambers of commerce, and I know the Englewood Chamber has done some of this, like the virtual coffees, things like that. Shelley's quickly becoming a fast expert in Zoom. If ACE wanted to have any kind of virtual interaction with businesses, we'd be happy to talk about ways that we can make the best of the capacity of this group in terms of having any kind of virtual coffee or participating on a virtual coffee. What I've found has been successful is in the past, sorry about that. I don't know how to mute it, y'all. In the past, I've found it beneficial to have interactions around either topics or something that's specific to a geographic area or industry, like going into the industrial area and walking, or something that's got a topic associated with it. So if we do a virtual coffee, maybe something that has a topic of interest that businesses might want to interact around. And I don't know what we want to call it, a virtual coffee, but do something that would be more of an ACE interaction with businesses in a virtual type of format. We'd be happy to host something like that, and certainly willing to brainstorm some ideas on topics there. Amy, it looks like you've got your hand up.
I have two things. One is I know that we had put together kind of a list of things we wanted to do as the months go on. And so, I'm pretty lost into what that was. I can't barely even remember what January was like, more or less what we talked about in February. It's years ago. So I don't know what we had on that list, but I do think we had some things planned. If maybe we could pull on one of those topics that we had and see if we could get a group together via Zoom, maybe for our next meeting. I think that sounds great. The second thing is, I know that a lot of emphasis has been put on restaurants for obvious reasons, but I do know that some of the gyms are struggling as well, and they are quite a bit more competitive to one another, if you will. And so this may be a unique opportunity for us to get them together on a Zoom call, because they may not be so hip to get together in a room together in the future, just because they are competitive by nature. But that might be something to consider.
Excellent. Excellent, Amy. Thank you. As I recall, and I don't have that list in front of me, one of the work program items for ACE for the fall was to continue the walking tour. When it was not so hot, I think we did one in August of last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I say I burned the bottoms of my shoes as concrete was so hot, but it was fun. It was a fun, doing something. I think there was a fall discussion about when it was a little cooler, maybe think about doing a virtual walking tour. I'm not going to propose anything that's going to be out of line with people's comfort level, and most importantly, with what any of the state health orders are. So getting together folks to go face to face could be very, very, very inappropriate, and I wouldn't want to move in that direction. But a virtual type of meeting, that would be very exciting. Steve, yes, sir, you've got your hand up.
So in terms of engaging with businesses, what is really the main purpose that we want to engage with businesses right now? Is it just frankly to ask them, how's it going with COVID? What's next for you? What do you have in mind? What's behind this?
I think those are valid points to touch base. What's going on with your business with relation to COVID? From an economic development perspective, why do we do something like this? It's a business ombudsman role and a business retention effort for the city to get out and understand the reasons, the activities and things that are going on within the business community. And Andrea and Amy and Judy and Travis, please chime in because you all heard face to face what businesses were feeling and doing in their interactions. Please feel free to chime in. I heard a lot from businesses firsthand that this was nice that the city cared about that business, and they cared enough to get in and walk in and see what they do, to cut vinyl for signs, or to have a small machine shop that was struggling. And we heard that machine shop was struggling and he needed employees and needed some assistance, and we were able to try to get some of that assistance their way. So I'll open it up. Who had feedback based on the walking tours from last year?
We had the feedback with the fencing that you were able to narrow down and figure something out. I don't know that it satisfied his need, but the fact that he felt like he was heard beyond just the we couldn't change anything, but I think it was encouraging.
I think there's huge value to having a high touch interaction with our business community and touching base on a variety of issues, whether it's what are they experiencing in this environment, COVID, but what are they experiencing in doing business within the city of Englewood? Are they finding issues with needing more employees? Are they finding that they need some resources to grow their business, like becoming aware of some grant resources that they may not have been aware of? In every situation, you don't know until you turn over that rock what you're going to find sometimes, and every situation is unique. And Amy's been front and center in terms of meeting, in many cases, one-on-one with businesses over the years. And Judy as well, meeting face-to-face with a number of businesses over the years. So I think that having a high-touch outreach initiative from the economic development perspective is about supporting and retaining our businesses and our jobs in our community. And how we do that is really on a case-by-case basis. And how we make sure that businesses have the information about doing business in the community. Go ahead, Amy.
And I guess the way that I've always thought about it when we're talking to the businesses is we don't know what we don't know. And so sometimes just talking to the business will provide the information that you didn't know to ask. Once you open that gate, once you open that door, then from there is where you go. And so right now, obviously, the number one thing on everyone's mind is COVID. But if we get a specific section of town together on a Zoom call or a specific industry, we may find out something else and provide that bridge from one another, one business to another, and then to the city.
Yeah, I was gonna say, since we can't really do walking tours now, that maybe we can find businesses who are willing maybe to give us a virtual tour of their business. And maybe just do a one-on-one kind of thing instead of inviting a bunch of different businesses into one Zoom meeting. We just make it specific to them and say, hey, we'd love it if you could, walk around with your laptop or phone if they're willing to do that. Show us around their business and they'll talk about it. And then that way we can engage conversation and ask questions. And maybe it's not so competitive that way because, like on our walking tours, our whole, our groups would spend a lot of time with that one business instead of, multiple businesses at the same time. And maybe we could schedule 2, at our next meeting or whatever, but do them like one at a time. So they get that individual attention if they're willing to do like a virtual business tour thing of their business with us.
I think that's excellent. I like that.
It's a great idea, Andrea. I like that a lot.
I like that. Also, I think it is a really good idea. I also like the idea of trying to do 1 or 2 virtual coffees where it might make sense to get some industry people together or neighborhood businesses together. I really like that idea. Both of
And Darren, I don't know, sorry, I haven't been to the last few meetings, but was there a lot of response to the surveys you tried to send out? I mean, did a lot of businesses fill them out or what happened with that?
So it's been a while. It seems like those were done in early to mid-June and COVID is still going on. So I've got the COVID fog going. About 60, 65, 70 folks, businesses completed that survey. My takeaways from that were people were optimistic that there would be a quick recovery. They felt like it happened pretty quickly and they tapped some pretty good resources right away, whether it was the PPP program. Counties actually initiated, this is before the county initiated their grants. They had tapped the city for some grants. And we, by the way, I'm very proud to say we're one of the first communities to launch a COVID recovery grant. Some communities took a little while to get that out of the gate, and we were able to get those programs up and rolling really soon, which for me, that was very important because businesses felt the pinch right away. Within 2 days of some of the stuff, I was hearing layoffs and problems paying rent. We initiated some contact with businesses and even a press release to say, work with your landlords, and even asking some landlords to have some, where they have large shopping centers or larger multiple retail spaces, work with your tenants because this environment is unprecedented in a sense that please give some deference and some forbearance for your tenants. We want there to be a success at the end of this with our businesses.
So I think another way ACE could reach out too is maybe send out surveys, another survey with like our usual questions and maybe add a few about COVID. And we can either like, physically call them and say, hey, we want you to fill out this survey. And then once we collect the responses, then maybe we could follow up with them later if we have more questions or if we see like the same kind of issues or problems that need to be solved. And maybe then we'll know that way more groups to focus on or to follow up with. But I think surveys are a good idea to like reach like a lot of the businesses all at once. And then we can kind of narrow it down to see, what questions we should be asking or which industries or sections we should focus on.
Rita, is there anything that we could help the council with, that anything that the council's been worried about or concerned about that we can maybe help shed some light on?
I'm not sure that council has really talked so much about the businesses right now. I mean, we did earlier, and I know the mayor helped Darren and his staff do some calling. I helped do some of the calling, and there's been several things. We're working on the budget. The policing issue has been really pretty big in the last few council meetings. We've been spending a lot of time on that. So at this point, I'm not aware of anything as far as the businesses.
Okay.
I mean, Darren may have more input on that too. You may have heard something that I didn't, Darren.
Well, I do have to say a quick, I'm really, really appreciative for each member of ACE, city council members, city staff, not just economic development staff. There were, we reached out to over 600 businesses on that call list. That's awesome. We should all pat ourselves on the back. I don't know of any other city that called as many businesses to say we care. We did a little, phone tree calling session, and there was some not questions like read off the questions, but just it was more of just to listen to each of these businesses. And a lot of city staffers also volunteered, from community development staff and other city staff members outside of our department. And thank Councilmember Russell, I appreciate you bringing that up. I had forgotten about that. Again, COVID fog here, that got lost in the shuffle, but that was a very important outreach effort very early on in terms of reaching out to our business community.
And that was the one thing that I wanted to talk about under my council liaison's choice, is that I want to give kudos to the ACE committee, to Darren and his staff, and really to all of city staff. The grant situation was so effective. Council did ask if we could expand that, and it got expanded. And I'm very happy. I think that you all did a great job. And so, I mean, it makes me sad that 44 businesses have closed to date, but I mean, I know that's up and down sometimes anyway. But I mean, and sometimes like COVID may have caused some of that in the fact that they may have been struggling, and COVID just kind of sealed things too. So, but I will keep my ears open. And if there's any way that we can't, even if council can help you also. So thank you very much.
I want to say that it sounds like the calling tree was really effective, and it sounds like kind of like a secret weapon to possibly pull out again if needed. Sometimes there'll be some sort of response. Just in general, someone might have a response to a crisis, and then the crisis, kind of starts slowing down a little bit, and then it just feels like, where's the follow-up? It could feel like that. And I can see the city and ACE is doing some great things. Just, something to think about if we really want to reach a number of businesses sometime in the next month or 2 or 3 months, or whatever's appropriate for the engagement that we need. Thank you.
So Judy, I just would like to add, thank you for that, Steve. I actually think that might be a good idea to pull that list out again, and in calling back, see how they're doing now and if they need anything now, because they're at a different point now than they were when it all first started. So I think that's probably a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. I'm just afraid that when schools open up, there's going to be so much going on that's different than happening right now. And, for such a big dog weapon as a tree call like that, I kind of feel like maybe we do the surveys that Andrea said now and keep the tree calling maybe for September or October, after we figure out what the heck is going to happen when that whole part of our community opens up with schools. I mean, I just think that's going to be a whole new cog that we haven't had to deal with yet. And I don't know. I like the surveys and I like the tree. The phone tree. When do we use them?
One thing,
Go ahead, Steve, please.
thank you. That's really a good point, Amy. There could be some strategy involved. Something I'm curious about, I mean, it's not something that we need to discuss ad nauseum here, but I know that from some of the things I've seen, you know, on news channels and a little bit of social media and that kind of thing, you know, wearing a mask, in some cases, there's some people so vehemently, you know, on one side or the other. And I know there's cases, you know, where I've heard that certain businesses have said, and I don't know specifically of one like in Englewood or anything like that, where there's been issues where, you know, in a public restaurant or bar or something, customers and people at each other over masks and all that kind of thing. And so, to me, that seems like the kind of thing that you know, would be much, because of that and many other things like staying safe and not spreading germs or spreading the virus, that sort of thing. You know, things like the surveys, I think that just emphasizes things like the surveys, the phone tree and that sort of thing would be definitely most appropriate, because believe it or not, it could be confrontational just to walk into a place with a mask on. And almost like your code enforcement. And I don't know, has anybody heard any thoughts around any of that? Anything?
I mean, it's an issue every single day.
Amy, in what regard? In the fact that you're seeing customers walk in without masks, in what regard?
Yes, that or patients think, well, I walked in with it, so now does that mean I get to take it off? Or I have it on. Yes, you do, but you don't have it over your nose. It's not doing anything on your throat. And so, yeah, it's an issue every single day. And so I agree. I mean, coming back full swing, I think that's why we should do things the way that we're talking about with surveys and Zoom meetings and table our walking tours and our one-on-ones until 2022 or next summer, whenever we can get back to those things.
I think people in general are on edge, you know, about that kind of thing. And some people get their information in different places, or some people are being coached. Just push back. And so, you know, I definitely feel for you, Amy, in that position you're in. And I know that we have to follow the guidelines. But I think people are on edge about that. That's for sure.
You know, to the extent, I have not heard of any egregious situations where businesses in Englewood are intentionally or kind of going out of their way to not follow this or allowing this mask situation to become a problem. I did ask the other day, what's the protocol? What would a business owner want to do if they're seeing that there's an issue? The first step would be to contact Tri-County Health Department. So the business could contact Tri-County Health Department and say, I've noticed that we have this problem at this location, and that would initiate a series of steps. I do have a bunch of these cards, these masks required cards. I think we gave some of these to ACE members. If for some reason you need more of these, we can certainly send them to you. Or if you know of any Englewood businesses that need more of these, I'd be happy to get them your way. But we have a big stack of these cards. And, you know, from what I've heard in talking to business owners, they usually just say, we're honoring that. We ask you to honor that as well. And then they'll pull up their mask. And we're seeing, you know, we're still open for business here at the city. And when anybody shows up without a mask, they just are asked to cover up. They always have one on them. We haven't had any situations where they have not had a mask on them, but they just either have it placed incorrectly or, you know, walking around with it hanging around their neck, that kind of thing. It hasn't been a problem. In other words, that's a long way to get to. It hasn't been a problem. If it is, it could be reported that the business can report it to Tri-County Health, and they have a follow-up mechanism there.
Rita, I'm just curious, is there any kind of reporting on enforcement of fines in public places? Anything that, council has been informed of non-compliance and fining?
Right, council really hasn't been informed of any of those. I know originally when council passed the ordinance, that mask wearing was mandatory. It was written in the ordinance that there could be a $2,650 fine and or a year in jail. And that got dropped from the ordinance. So what I do believe that I think it starts out with a first time you get a warning. The second time you would get a $15 fine. The third time a $25 fine. And I don't remember, Darren, does it go up to $50? I don't remember for sure.
I don't know what the cap on the fine is, and I really haven't heard of any fines being issued. I think the intent there was just simply to create a more of an awareness, and it's not a punitive sort of
right
thing. It's just more about creating an awareness.
And I can say that it has been incredibly helpful, and I am so very thankful that you passed that. In June, in particular, my staff and I and my fellow businesses in my little area, we were just getting beat up. I mean, I kid you not. June, there was a time I actually thought about closing down again, because there was not a day that went by that we didn't get berated or lost a patient over what the things we were trying to do to stay safe. And so it became much, much easier when that was a universal throughout the county situation. So thank you very much, because that just made our day-to-day more tolerable to be able to say that we were being backed up by this is a city ordinance, or this is what the county is saying. That was very, very helpful. So thank you.
So, but I do think the way it's written, it would be very difficult to enforce it also. But I do think Amy is absolutely right that having it in place does make it easier for businesses to require it. Now, I do know there are people that cannot wear a mask for health reasons or whatever. Have you had any of those people come into your business, Amy?
I tell them that we haven't had anyone pull that on us yet, and I as a healthcare provider, I find that very hard to believe. I mean, I've had patients with COPD. I only have 1 3/4 lungs, and I wear a mask all day, and so those very, very few exemptions to mask wearing, I tell them that unfortunately, I would say that we're not the place for you now. We'll be happy to help you in the future when we can lift this. But with me seeing 96-year-old patients one moment and immune-compromised patients the next, plus myself, at this point, if you can't wear a mask, this isn't the time to come in.
Right. So I appreciate that. And I mean, I've had the same thing like when I go to the dentist, you have to wear a mask when you go in, but obviously you have to take the mask off when they're working on your teeth. But they don't let people sit in the waiting rooms. And I understand that with healthcare. So anyway, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Hey, Amy, that was really good feedback. That was really good to hear. And so I'd suggest putting out more of those cards to us, Darren. Thank you.
And the people that are upset, they don't read those cards. They just slam the door and walk out. I mean, they're not reading anything. They've already feel that they're completely informed, and no more than anyone who could have possibly written the card or handed it to them. Sorry, it's just been a tough few months. Sorry.
I understand.
Amy, this is Travis. I'd just like to say that you are in a very unique position working with eyes and the vulnerable body tissue that you're working with. I'm not quite sure people understand that as close as you have to get, there's just no room for error.
No, there's not. And, you know, the sad part is when you hear, I mean, we've lost a number of patients. I get a lot of, well, I don't wear masks. Or I don't believe in masks. Or why don't you read this? Because then you'll become more informed.
Well, and I have several friends like that, but I also encourage them to go places where they feel that they don't have to worry about that. I had to have a tooth repaired in the midst of all of this, and fortunately my dentist was open enough that I could go in there and get that taken care of. They following all the protocols and stuff, but understanding that there could only be one client in the entire space the entire time, that was beyond my comprehension at the moment. But then, of course, the reality is if somebody gets exposed, everybody in the office is exposed. The office is shut down. It's 14 days, at least 10 before you can take the test. And then, I mean, the whole process can shut your business down. I think that's different than a gas station.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to play one side against the other so much as certainly hair salons. I had a number of elderly clients that could not physically wash their own hair. Finding somebody that could help them, especially for their physical needs, that was rough. That was really rough. And at the same time, they had to wear masks while you're washing their hair, while you're leaning them back. I mean, it was pretty chaotic. I think people should be of the understanding that, look, if you're going into a dentist in particular, a doctor or an eye doctor, you don't want to make any mistakes there. There's just no room for error there. Other places, there might be a little bit more, okay, they came in, now you can take it off to eat your meal or drink your liquid or whatever. But I think a lot of people really want it to be over with, and it's not quite there yet. I heard an interesting statistic on the Zika virus that half my family wouldn't even go. They had a whole vacation planned for somewhere in Mexico, and none of them could go because of the women of birthing age were all getting ready to get pregnant and have babies, whatever, and they didn't want to go through that. Well, ironically, 2 years later, without us even trying, there was a herd immunity. So I'm not sure we need to wait till 2022. Lord, I hope not. But the uniqueness of your situation, I'm sorry that it's gotten ugly, because that's not fair. That's just not fair. So I just want you to know I'm empathetic and sympathetic, and there are some things that we don't know how to fix it yet. I know that for the hair salons, it's been crazy. The few that I know of that have managed to stay in business, it's been really hard for them. I know of 2 that went out of business, and they're in Sheridan, so I'm not sure that totally counts for Englewood, but they're nearby, and they're small businesses, and they couldn't bridge whatever the need was for following the guidelines. Maybe as part of our whatever we're trying to do, we should be looking for those businesses that are either having a really hard time meeting the guidelines, if we can assist them in any way, the PPEs, whatever they need, or seeing if there's somewhere else where 2 businesses can come together. Someone's there on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, someone's there on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, which is what I saw one business do. They were able to accommodate that. But I feel bad. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just had a comment, basically with Shelley, as we consider doing virtual kinds of things. And I've been on a number of Zoom meetings myself. And if we are going to do that, it's really dependent on a person's level of using their phone or their tablet, the difference between Android and iPhone. I imagine, Shelley, that you've probably got some pretty good guidelines or questions to ask when, if people were to join like that, because they're sometimes so uninformed in some cases of what to do if they're new to Zoom, but different kinds of settings between the two phones. Does that make sense, Shelley?
It does, and I haven't encountered that yet. We've just strictly been doing our board meetings. And actually tonight is our first public meeting with BOA. So I might experience something like that tonight, but
Okay.
we're kind of learning as we go with Zoom,
Right.
as you know.
Yeah, well, thanks for all the work you do.
Thank you.
Is there anything else on the topic? Hey, there's a little guy. Council liaison's choice.
I really already shared what I was going to share during the meeting. I appreciate all of you and your hard work, and both staff and the committee. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rita. I'll just kind of go based on the way I see you. Steve, Commissioner's choice. Anything you'd like to add or concerns or anything?
So I don't have any concerns. I am intrigued with some of the reach out ideas for engagement. So I'm interested to see, what the follow-up will look like. I'm, definitely willing to help on that because I think it's really important, and that would be one of the things that I signed on for. So is that something that'll be coordinated, helping to manifest these things going forward? Is that something that you are coordinating, Darren?
Yes, so any actions like that, Steve, we would make some decisions as a group, as a board, as a body, and staff could facilitate some of that, whether that is the Zoom calls around a theme or around a geographic area. Love the idea of the survey, and also love the idea of getting out into businesses and doing a virtual business tour, and maybe ACE is on the line. We were actually thinking about that for Manufacturers Day this October, to get into some manufacturers in a safe distance kind of way, just to do a virtual Manufacturers Day celebration. So I'll end my comments on there may be some ways to get on the coattails of other organizations that are doing something similar, and maybe ACE can get involved in that, whether it's a chamber coffee or Manufacturers Day or anything of that nature. ACE can certainly get involved in some of those and promote and engage along those lines. That's all. Thank you.
So with regard to that survey then, Darren, what do you think the time frame would be if we really wanted to, get these things moving?
I think a lot would be dependent on getting some consensus from ACE on what the group would be interested in surveying, who the target would be, and coming up with a handful of questions. The phone calls from ACE have been basically a survey, an ad hoc level of a survey. So you can do that whether it's a blast survey, which the response rate tends to be fairly low, or the high touch idea, which is have these 3 to 5, I try not to go over 5, 3 to 5 topical areas to talk with a business, and just interact with the business around those topics. So this would purely be driven on how ACE wants to, the time frame could be driven on how quickly ACE can come to some consensus on who the target is, what those questions would be, and methodology.
And that's something you can probably work with Brad on, and then be able to have something maybe in place where if there was phone calling, then as Andrea was saying, contact them, and then you could email them the survey and be responsible for getting the response. Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Andrea, anything?
Yeah, I just want to say I missed you guys. Sorry for missing a few meetings. it's been a rough few months. You know, we found out my mom has stage 3 colon cancer, and she had to have emergency surgery to remove a tumor, and she starts chemo tomorrow. So, but you know, we're hopeful and things are looking good. So I think it'll be all good. But I'm glad to be back and seeing all your faces again.
Glad to see you. Thank you, Andrea. Amy?
You know, that just nice to see you again too, Andrea. Thanks for everything that you do, and I really appreciated a lot of your suggestions today. I like the survey idea quite a bit, and seeing if we can maybe just use some of the questions that we've had in the past, plus add a couple of new ones, as you talked about, directly related to COVID. And then I do think that maybe we should put it on the agenda for our September meeting to figure out what we wanted to do potentially with that phone tree. I just think that that would be nice timing with the society at large.
Thank you. Travis, welcome back. Good to see your face.
I was out of, I would like to say out of the country, but I was out of Wi-Fi range when I was up in Wyoming. And I had about 1,000 email dump when I got back into range. And so I completely everything from last month. I apologize for that. But I was exposed to some interesting dichotomies with the COVID response up in South Dakota, because where my dad's place is right on the edge of the Wyoming-South Dakota border. And I was pleasantly surprised and amazed at how many businesses in South Dakota are still following CDC guidelines. It's not the wide open place that you would think that, you know, we've heard horror stories, maybe just in Sturgis.
Yeah.
But for the most part, most people, all restaurants were trying to be very, very careful. They were very mindful of wearing the masks. And people coming from out of state were more likely to wear a mask, but nobody was awful to them. Nobody made fun of them. I think I heard once or twice somebody say something about, you know, why is that business operating that way? Well, some of them chose to shut down, or some of them chose to use some social distancing. But, you know, it's just interesting to go to a state where that's not the way they decided to handle it. So that was good. The only problem is the wilds of Wyoming does not have Wi-Fi everywhere. So we were without for a little bit, and I'm glad to be back home. Very interesting to see the difference. And I lost my mom in May, and then I had a long-term client / friend who died in early June. So I needed a break away. Sorry about that, but I just needed to check out and go somewhere and heal and recover and just reinvigorate. So glad to be back.
Sorry for your losses, Travis. Good to see you back.
Thanks.
Thank you. Dylan?
Hi, thank you. I don't have much to add. I think reaching out to the community is probably going to be a really important thing, and I'm glad we spent a lot of time talking about that, the different avenues in which we can get involved. I think I've been one of the ones that's guilty of not doing that enough, and so I'm hoping to get a couple more opportunities here as we go into this new wave of things. So other than that, we're looking forward to the hiring fair. I just got a text actually, Darren, that they filled out their forms, so you should be seeing something come through on your side. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. Nathan, would you like to add anything?
Nothing to add. Good to hear from everybody. Would especially just want to reiterate thanks to Rita and council, and also Darren. I know you've been hard at work, and I know that is really meaningful to myself and our neighbors, but also to the businesses in the community, especially in a time where it feels like a lot of uncertainty. So thank you for all your hard work on that.
Thank you, Nathan. Staff's choice?
I have nothing further to add. Thanks all for a great discussion. Amy, the recommendation to bring the survey back at the next ACE agenda, we'll have that as a topic on the next ACE agenda.
Okay, no other business? I guess we'll call this meeting An end? Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Take
Everybody.
care. Stay safe.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.